Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Here's how much XRP Ripple might sell to pay SEC $2 billion. Now, I'm assuming that most of you have heard by now, but just in case you haven't, the SEC is demanding that Ripple pays $2 billion basically in penalties, which is substantially higher than what they were initially asserting Ripple should pay in their initial legal complaint, which was right around $1.2 billion. So mind you, the SEC lost on the most crucial point in the entire damn case, the matter of whether or not XRP itself is a security. They lose on that crucial part. And as a result, any sort of transactions that would have to do with you, all right, that's all out the window. And they're like, okay, well, now we want double the money. Yeah. What a bunch of little baby back biatches. You know what I'm saying? They really grind my gears. So, that's ridiculous. I'm not convinced that's going to happen, but that's not the only thing that occurred. There were also settlement talks yesterday. Did you hear about this? I made a video about it. It was widely discussed within the XRP community. Just trying to catch you up in case you hadn't heard yet, though. Another headline from the Crypto Basic. Court records show Ripple and SEC just had settlement talks. That's true. Here's some actual pictures of them just a couple days ago. There's Stuart Alderati, Chief Legal Officer, on the left. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse on the right. And here's a picture of them from the backside. Giggity. So, now as far as that goes, I am not expecting that this means there's going to be an actual settlement. This particular meeting was demanded by Judge Torres. So we knew that there would be a settlement talk. The judge made that clear publicly back in, maybe it was September of last year. I highlighted the date in my last video. But anyway, when that was made public, the date wasn't yet set. So we didn't know. So we see this and we're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What are they walking into here? And then we go to court listeners, I highlighted in my video the other day, and you find, oh yeah, well, it's right there on the schedule. So of course this has to be what is occurring. 1 + 1 = 2, right? So there's that, but imagine that Ripple actually has to pay this $2 billion. I don't know exactly how much money's in their account right now. The last time Brad Garlinghouse publicly talked about it, it was $1 billion. But then I think they spent like, what, $250,000 buying a company? So, or not $250,000. It was $250 million. Decimal place over. So, big dollar amount, right? But how much money they actually have now, I don't know. It's expensive to run their business, but they also have a bunch of XRP they can sell. They do sell over time. That's been publicly known for, better part of a decade. But if they suddenly had to pay a $2 billion fine, could they right now? Well, I don't think they're flush with that much cash. I mean, I joke sometimes they have more money than God, but it's a joke. They don't literally have infinite money. They're not the United States government. Just printing money all willy-nilly. Money printer go burr, that whole thing. So what would happen? Well, as I was talking about in a recent video, in theory, the only thing Ripple could do and might feel, in theory, forced to do, would be to sell XRP to a much greater degree than they've been, dumping on us plebs, right? Dumping on the market so that they get their stacks of fat cash, and then market price go down substantially for XRP. That's what people are worried about. But should we be worried about that? Not so fast. Let me go ahead and break this down because, first of all, a couple things off the bat here. Number one, I don't think that Judge Torres is going to stand for this. Number two, even if Ripple did start selling way more XRP, would it tank the price? Even if it were, we'll get into the exact figures here, what it would be. But if you're talking about billions of XRP getting sold off in short order, wouldn't that tank the market? We'll talk about it. Not necessarily yes, though. And so anyway, the piece reads as follows. The legal tussle between the SEC and Ripple could be approaching a final resolution as court records show that the parties just had a settlement conference. According to the court listener legal database, the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York recently scheduled a settlement conference regarding the ongoing legal tussle between the SEC and Ripple. The conference, held yesterday at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time, was presided over by Magistrate Judge Sarah Netburn. Interestingly, an ex-user who goes by the name Boba Feet shared a photo of Ripple execs Brad Garlinghouse and Stuart Alderati entering a federal courthouse in New York yesterday. The photo elicited a series of reactions as XRP community members were surprised that a settlement conference had happened out of the blue. Responding to inquiries about the matter, former SEC official Mark Fagel pointed out that the surprise settlement conference was a mandatory pre-hearing meeting, which was part of the original scheduling order of the lawsuit. And so, not expecting some sort of settlement here. Does that mean, though, that they're going to have to pay the amount here? Well, let's get into the $2 billion aspect of this, which is completely absurd and offensive. It just is. But is it going to happen, and what would that look like? The headline here again, here's how much XRP Ripple might sell to pay SEC $2 billion fine. And there are people speculating that this is probable to happen. I disagree. I do not think so. And even if it did, is it the end of the world? Well, that's what I want. That's the point I want to get to, but let me do things in order here. With the SEC demanding a nearly $2 billion fine from Ripple, we've highlighted the amount of XRP the company might sell to meet this obligation if the court sides with the regulatory agency. The US SEC recently filed its opening remedies brief, proposed judgment, and accompanying exhibits in the Ripple case. Notably, the part of the SEC's recent filing that has caught the crypto community's attention is its proposed judgment. The SEC specifically demanded that the court order Ripple to pay, well, she's a round number here, $1.95 billion in fees and penalties over its violation of federal securities laws. According to the SEC, Ripple must pay the $1.95 billion 30 days after the court adopts and issues its proposal as the final judgment. So to be clear here, this would be off in the future, but if they were demanded to pay that right now, I don't think they could. They literally could not comply with this. Some sort of arrangement would have to be made. But it's ridiculous and offensive because this is the SEC trying to get Ripple to dump XRP on us. That's how ridiculous and repulsive the SEC is. They are trying to trigger this to happen to harm us. They're not trying to protect us. They're trying to harm us. They have spite for us. Anyway, peace continues. If the court sides with the SEC and Ripple chooses not to appeal the decision, the company would have to raise the $1.95 billion within 30 days after the final judgment is issued. A possible source for Ripple to raise funds is through the sales of the XRP tokens it holds, especially the ones in its escrow accounts. Per the SEC, Ripple held a total of 45.77 billion XRP in its escrow accounts as of December 31st, 2023. The crypto payments company has already unlocked and utilized 600 million XRP from escrow this year, bringing the total amount locked in escrow to 45.17 billion XRP. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're talking about a billion XRP getting unlocked from escrow and you want to sell all of it, you're going to need like to have a fivefold increase in Ripple sales. Fivefold increase in Ripple sales. Would that hit the market? Would it hurt us real bad? Well, a little further. Should Ripple decide to raise the $1.95 billion fine by strictly selling some of its XRP holdings, the company would need to sell, I'll choose a round number here, 3.12 billion XRP in escrow at the current price of 62.47 cents. The 3.12 billion XRP coins that could be sold represent about 6.91% of the total XRP coins in escrow. Taking this route and dumping huge amounts of XRP in the market could wreak havoc on the coin's price. And look, fair enough point to bring up. In fact, take a look at this. At the time I'm recording this, XRP 62.9 cents. You have a 24-hour volume of 987 million. So a little shy of a billion there. But look at the liquidity. It's $159 million. So that's what it is at this moment. If Ripple sold a few $100 million, like you could soak up all of the order books in the planet in theory in short order. But first of all, they do not want to in any sort of detectable way impact the price of XRP. So I don't believe for a moment they'd do that. Even if they were in a situation where they had to raise that much money, well, first of all, they wouldn't because judge won't do it. They'd still appeal. It would be way past the bull market anyway. So I'm not actually worried about this, but it's a fun exercise in thought. It's like, what would happen then? Well, first of all, Ripple would sell gradually from day to day. But the reason that it wouldn't hit us, and this is the reason that I wouldn't be terribly worried, even if you do think that they're going to have to sell a boatload of XRP, is because Ripple can purchase over the counter. Are you familiar with this concept? Look, there's a reason that what's the guy's name? Saylor. What the hell's his first name? Michael Saylor, right? Michael Saylor, yeah, the toxic Bitcoin maxi, right? That guy, who owns founded MicroStrategy and was the CEO until recently. Now he's got some other position there. Anyway, because MicroStrategy has, I think, over 200,000 Bitcoin now, I want to say. Well, how was he able to purchase that without moving the market in any sort of detectable way? Like that doesn't make sense, right? Shouldn't that kind of demand like done something to the price? Well, not exactly. In that case, he was purchasing, but the reason that the markets didn't start driving up and he didn't have to start paying way more in fees is because he bought over the counter. He was going to exchanges that already had Bitcoin and buying little bits here and there, dribs and drabs, over a prolonged period of time. And I don't remember exactly what the period of time was, but that's how he did it. He didn't want to move the market because then he ends up paying more, right? So if you're thinking about what Ripple would do is they'd purchase from exchanges, and regular people can do this, by the way, depending on what exchange you're talking about. Some have lower bars, like if you're just going to be like buy like even $10,000 worth of a cryptocurrency. Some exchanges I've seen, they're like, yeah, come talk to us. You might want to buy OTC, and so if that happens, and it's coming directly from the supply of an exchange, people aren't going to know that's happening. That's a private transaction from an exchange to a business or an individual. In this case, it would be Ripple, so it would be a business, right? So they'd be selling, they could be unloading. It's basically like in reverse, right? It doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to flood the market. It depends on who they sell to. So that's another factor. But I think, again, the most important piece is, A, Judge Torres ain't going to go for this. B, even if she did, there would be an appeal. And then C, even if they still had to pay it, something would have to be worked out so it could be done over a period of time. And it would be like, it would be like, I just think that there would be a bunch of entities that would be willing to purchase, but because there's always the larger entities, but they can sell it effectively the same way that you could from exchange. It'd be just like over the counter. And Ripple does this, like with strategic business partners. They have historically sold their XRP this way. And sometimes exchanges stock up. Like I'm just saying there are other things to consider. Now, in terms of the way that this would actually break down, I don't pretend to know. In the real world, if that actually happened, which I think is Fantasyland stuff, but if it even got to that point, I'm just saying there's a lot of dynamics to all this, and I don't think it would end up cratering the XRP market. It's big, and again, this would be by the end of the bull market anyway. I don't think this is something to worry about, but it is what it is. Like it's a massive quantity. It's kind of a fun little exercise to think through here. But for anybody that's actually worrying about this, and some people actually are, I say don't worry about it. It doesn't make sense to worry about this. And then even if it happened once, it's done, and it can't happen again here. But realistically, I think they're gonna have to pay some sort of small fine, and then frankly, they have enough cash for it already. That would be my guess. Whatever the actual fine is that Judge Torres ends up imposing on them. Because I do think there's going to be something in all likelihood. Well, I just don't think that it's something that's going to be absolutely devastating. That's all I'm saying. So, big picture, like I was saying, overarching message in this video, there's a lot of moving parts. It's not realistic for it to happen. Sleep easy. You guys can tell me what you think. Did I miss anything that's worth considering in terms of how this might unfold? Any particular dynamic I've not yet thought through? Well, I'm not a know-it-all, so if I am missing something, just kindly let me know, because I'd be curious, because it is kind of interesting as a topic to think through here. But again, I'll just say, I ain't worried about it. Moon Lambo's sleeping easy, son. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.